Hello, everybody. Hope you can hear me. Welcome to Zero to One with AI and No Code, where the Bubble team and community are coming together to help you as new founders conquer one of the first big hurdles of any startup journey, the day you stop thinking about your app and start making it a reality. My name is Vivienne Chen. I'm a product marketer at Bubble, and I'm so excited to introduce you to some of the incredible entrepreneurs who are leveraging no-code tools like Bubble and AI integrations to build their businesses. Each of them has an amazing story about how they got to where they are today, and they're full of practical tips to how to get your tech to market. I'm going to give you a quick preview of the agenda for today. Uh, I encourage you all to stick around because after our founder intro, there will be a community panel, and then the Bubble team will be demoing some of the brand new AI features that were released today in beta that you might have already seen. If you're like me and you've been intimidated to get started on your project in the past, I think Bubble's new features make it really easy to learn how to build your product and get to your first app pages in minutes. For those of you in the chat, keep chatting. We'll pull your comments up throughout the event. We'll have the team answer questions towards the end. And, like you said, get us started. Tell us where you're from. Tell people what you're working on, and what questions you want answered today. So, for this event, we want you to come away with three things, basically. The first is practical tips for starting your company powered by or with AI. Second is a lot of wisdom from our experienced founders on what to do and what not to do. And then finally, we'd love to show you the new tools you can try to use and start building your company today. To kick us off, I'd like to introduce one particular founder to speak about his unique journey, Emmanuel Straschnov, co-founder and co-CEO of Bubble. Welcome, Emmanuel.
Thank you, Vivienne. It's great to be here with all of you.
Great. And so I've been looking at the poll in the chat recently, and I noticed that about, a good quarter of the audience today is their day one with Bubble. They're new to it. What do you want these founders to know about Bubble?
Well, first of all, welcome to these people. I mean, it's great to have you part of this event and on Bubble in general. If you're new to Bubble, the few things that we want to highlight is first and foremost, we're a tool that enables you to build web applications and soon mobile applications without writing code. The reason we started the company 12 years ago and our mission that is still the same today is to flip the traditional software development narrative on its head. Instead of telling people you're going to have to learn how to code, we want to create tools that actually speak the language of people and therefore ease the development process dramatically. So what we are today is a visual builder that lets you create, at this point, any kind of web application. Think about Twitter, Airbnb, these kind of like very well-known applications could be built on Bubble today without having to code. Another way to say it is that, we want to enable you to be your own CTO as you start your company. And then the last thing I would say is, in addition to being a product, and I think what we have today is a big testament to that, is we're a community. We started in 2012 because we wanted, to enable more people to be part of the software industry and entrepreneurial community. And what we've seen over the years is, a lot of people gather online and offline to help each other and build on Bubble together. And that's something that is very heartwarming to see, and that I hope you join after this event.
Great. So the first question for you, Emmanuel, is I'd like to take it back to when you started as a founder in 2012. So what was it like being a tech founder before the rise of no-code tools and AI?
Well, first of all, this is a way to say how old am I? I am. So thank you very much, Vivienne, for that. Well, back then, like in 2012, when you wanted to build something for your own business or for an existing organization, you basically had two options. Either you would learn how to code, or you hire people who knew how to code. And if you remember back in 2012, I mean, learning how to code was really the main thing you would hear from the tech world. Code Academy was probably the hardest startup in New York and probably the US. Governments were doing a lot of programs to teach people how to code. And this is actually something that I had to face personally before meeting Josh. I was in business school, so I arrived to the United States through business school. So I was an MBA student, and even though I had written a lot of code as a kid, I actually never thought I would be writing code again. The last code I had written in my life was probably 10 years prior, so like 2002, so very long time ago. And I was starting to think about some ideas I wanted to launch online. And so I found myself in that dilemma, how do you get to build something where you don't know how to code? I spent a lot of time at the neighboring engineering school next to my business school, trying to find coders, trying to talk to people, say, hey, I have an idea, can you help me build it? Eventually didn't work. I mean, I made good friends, but I didn't find any co-founder. But it really revealed to me like the big pain point here. And in fact, I think that's one of the things that really drew me to Josh's idea when he was looking for someone, because I could really feel the pain and understand, how we can create something that would change the game completely and basically remove that thing on the way of people to get to try and launch their own ideas.
Well, I mean, in the path to bubble, you also had to eventually learn how to code yourself. So I think that's a interesting point that you've made. If generative AI had been around when this happened, how would that have changed your approach to making a no-code tool like Bubble?
I think what generative AI has done lately is really give a new birth to the prompt interface. The idea that you can type something and therefore interpreting that text and build something out of it. Today, Bubble is very visual based. When you started in 2012, and I still think it's actually the right way for a lot of tools. It's a graphic user interface. You use your mouse and you design your application and you point and click. Had AI existed when we launched the company, text would have been a bigger part of it. And that's basically what we're doing today. We think that even though mobile visual interfaces remain something particularly good to build an application, and it's very fast, if we have ways to interpret what the user wants in natural language and help accelerate the building process of the application, this is a very big win for the user. And this is not just about, building the application itself, as we'll show, as everyone will see in a few minutes, like building some pages, but you can also help, have ideas about how to create your application faster, organize the feedback that you're getting from users. Like there are a lot of things, that AI can actually help that will eventually make the building process much more enjoyable.
Right. So one of the things about this event is I really want to talk about to new founders about, stories coming from experienced founders. And I'd love to take a moment to dive into your early bootstrapping days in Bubble's story, because I think a lot of tech founders often assume they have to start raising money pretty early, especially if you have to pay for an expensive development team or find that CTO. And like you mentioned, Bubble's been here since 2012, and you and Josh Haas, as co-founders, bootstrapped Bubble for 7 years, and you didn't take any venture funding until 2019. And since then, Bubble's raised more than $100 million. So I'm curious for you, like, how did you as a founder make that decision not to put your energy into courting VCs in the beginning?
Well, the important thing about venture funding, and I assume we have a lot of entrepreneurs in this audience, and so it's something to keep in mind that when you take venture funding, you put yourself on a trajectory where it's extremely likely you're going to have to fundraise again, just because you're getting used to spending more money than you make. I mean, at the point of fundraising, right? You can invest, and usually you don't get to a profit inflection point where your revenues start really accelerating to a point you can self-finance everything in revenue for quite some time. And so, to be very specific, what that means is if you raise money about 18 months to 24 months later, you need to be able to raise a new round. And the challenge here is that you need to ensure you're building a business that can deliver something exciting enough for investors so that after 18 to 24 months, they're going to be excited enough to give you money. And what we felt quite early on with Bubble is that it was just not going to happen. And the reason being, it takes a long time to have the minimum set of features so that people are interested enough to learn the product, start building on it, and eventually start paying for it. And we just felt like, we're not going to be able to do that in 2 years. Retrospectively, I think it was the right call, because looking back at how the whole landscape has evolved, I would say most of the companies that I would consider as our peers, and that peers not necessarily in the sense that they do the same thing than us, but similar type of companies, like very powerful tools that enable people to do a lot of things. And these companies, like Zapier or Webflow, for instance, that I have great respect for, actually had a similar trajectory. And I think it's not random. This is because had one of these companies raised a lot of money too early, it would have been very challenging to get to a place that Bubble is good enough to raise rounds subsequently. And so what all these companies did, including Bubble, is the first few years, some companies did 4, we did 7, we did a little bit longer, of bootstrapping and self-financing before actually being able to raise significant amounts of money and scale the platform aggressively.
Gotcha. My hope is that now that Bubble exists, I don't think any of the founders here will need to take that long to get to their products. I mean, that's the goal that you guys set out with. But how did you
Exactly, yeah.
guys, how did you guys keep Bubble bootstrapped for 7 years without venture funding?
Combination of things. I mean, we had a little bit of savings, from it was not our first job after college. So Josh and I had some jobs before starting the company, and so we had a little bit of savings. So we basically put all our savings in the company in the sense that we didn't take a salary for like maybe 2, 3 years, and just lived out all those savings. I remember my bank account being pretty close to zero at some point when I started being able to take a salary, because that's actually ultimately what happened. When you don't raise money and you need money, well, you actually do what I think businesses should do and have done for hundreds, if not thousands of years, which is you find customers that want to pay for them, for your service. And so we were able to find customers pretty early on. I still remember the first $50 check we got, I think late 2012. The entertaining thing about this is that we had not implemented online payments yet. And so we had to take a check, but I cashed the check after taking a picture of it. So at first it was purely symbolic, but I would say about like 3, 4 years in, it was enough money to start, taking a little salary. So not like something crazy, but definitely enough for us to keep going in New York, and keep growing the business. And then the business started really becoming big enough to start paying, market salaries, I would call that, for the entire team, probably around like 2017.
So I'm hearing that the theme is here, getting in front of your first customers is the whole point of any business, whether it's a startup or a new tool or a tool that you had, a business you built before. With the rise of AI tools in the no-code space, changing how fast people can build and get to that first customer, is there any piece of advice that you would give to founders today about using AI no-code tools?
Well, I think AI is going to accelerate the building process dramatically. And because of that, you can actually get to iterate on your product much faster. So what that means is you're going to be able to put your product in front of people extremely fast. And then if there are things you want to change, either through the Bubble editor, which is already pretty fast to iterate on, or using new features that actually go even faster, you can keep iterating on your product extremely quickly. What I've learned over the years is it's not about making a big launch for your product, but it's about having it in front of the users that are the right person type of people you want to target for your business, and have a lot of conversations with them. And whenever you change something new, you want to hear how they react to that. And the fact that now new tools, so Bubble not being new, it's been 12 years, but no code as a whole, compared to the whole technology industry, is pretty new. Combined with AI applied to application generation, can really help people go to market much faster and react much faster to feedback that they're getting from their users, which ultimately is how you create something valuable for your customers.
Thank you, Mayo. I really appreciate hearing your thoughts on this, and I'm really excited for Bubbles team to be able to share more about what they've been working on.
Thank you very much, and I'm very looking forward to seeing what you all built with Bubble and AI.
So, in this next section, to help us see how some of Bubbles community are using AI and tools in their business, I want to bring up three founders to the stage who are on the other side of their learning journeys and are now not just building successful businesses, but using Bubble to integrate AI into their own customer apps. So I'd like to introduce you to Chad Sakonchik, founder of Better Legal, a startup he converted from custom code to Bubble and brought in 2.7 million in revenue in 2022. Welcome, Chad.
Hey.
I also have Albert Astabastian, one of the founders of Bubble built platform Synthflow, which helps deploy conversational AI voice agents and went from MVP to 1.8 million in funding in 6 months. Welcome, Albert.
Hello.
And finally, we're chatting with Marina Tchaikovska, co-founder of Bubble-built AI app VoicePen and a Bubble certified developer who specializes in building AI-powered apps on Bubble. Welcome, Marina.
Hello.
So I'm going to start off, give you a little bit of time to talk about yourselves and each of your products. Chad, tell us a little more about Better Legal and how you got started with Bubble and AI.
Yeah, so Better Legal is a business formation service. So we form corporations and LLCs in the United States. That's a lot more complex than a lot of people might understand from different countries. We have 50 states, and that means 50 different websites or fax. Some states require fax or paper mail-ins. And so we handle the filings, we handle the legal documents, and we basically send the entire package to the customer for one price, so they don't have to think about what they need. we basically started with just like Asana and a type form. And then we kind of migrated to Salesforce, and then we migrated to custom code, spent 5 years building something very custom. And then we were just getting bled dry from developers, specifically front-end developers. We were just like treading water. We were spending so much money just treading water, not building any new features. And so I did a 30-day challenge on like building a new company on no code. So I chose Bubble. I built something custom from scratch. I watched Kieran Ball's No Code Life's course and learned it in like 10 hours. And then I built something from scratch. And I was like, oh my God, I can rebuild my entire company on Bubble. And so we spent 2 months basically cloning what we had built in 5 years in custom code, running them both parallel for another 6 months, and then sunsetting the code and just throwing it out. And then last year, when ChatGPT came out, we decided to start playing with the API connector and seeing, what we could do with legal stuff and AI. And we leaned into that. Now we have a full blown contract analysis tool built in Bubble and ChatGPT.
Awesome. Albert, I'm going to pass it to you because it's someone who's also building tools with AI in Bubble. Tell us a little bit more about Synflow.
Yes, thank you very much. Happy to be here. So Synflow started circa 1 year ago, and in the beginning it was basically a no-code abstraction level on top of OpenAI APIs to enable the users create chatbots with no code, so I basically super quickly created this prototype MVP and rolled it out, and realized that there are very strong signals that this type of thing is very interesting for people, and this is how it started. Right now, we're more focused on conversational AI. We raised a round pre-seed and about to close the next round, which I can't share more details yet. But yeah, so, and we hit 1.5 million ARR lately. Yeah, we're mainly working with B2Bs, and we have 12 employees, so it's a very complicated system. I don't even understand the very depth of this entire orchestration, but even though it got very complex, and it's a complex system, Bubble is still part of the core tech stack that we use.
That's awesome. And Marina, tell us a little bit more about your work on AI-powered apps in Bubble.
Okay, so I've been building with Bubble for the last 6 years, and definitely it's been life-changing for me because I come from no coding experience whatsoever, and learning Bubble has enabled me to kind of build my own ideas, launch apps, test them, and become a founder. So I've been building in the last probably year and a half. I've launched maybe around like 15 AI apps, which was amazing to see because integrating AI and Bubble, it's so easy. So I want to highlight just 2 apps that I've built in the past. Of course, VoicePen, which converts audio files to blog posts. But we're also working on this powerful agent that will take a keyword and kind of create this blog post that will rank, that is comparing to the top ranking blog posts already. So yeah, we're launching that soon. And I want to highlight another one that I've been building in the last several months. It's called Odyssey. And that is basically like an AI recruiter that will kind of help you by chatting with it, engaging with several AI tools we have to kind of excel in your career.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything you guys are working on. I have a couple of quick questions for you that I have for founders. My first one is, what's your advice for founders on going from thinking about your product to building it? I will start with Chad here.
I mean, I would do what Marina is doing, is just get it out the door and build it. The ideation process, previously you had to stand up an entire company. I think Emmanuel did a great job explaining this whole process of what a company used to have to be. And now you can just get it out there. So I mentioned, I decided to start using Bubble because I played with it for 30 days and built something completely new. You can't predict what people are going to like and buy. It could be the best idea in the world, and you build it and nobody wants it. Even George Lucas screened Star Wars for his friends privately, and they all told him it was garbage. So like, you can't predict. And it also is very difficult to go from something that is in your head to something that is alive and exists. There are so many like gotchas. It's like a glacier. It's like you start building and you think it's going to take this much. And then once you start having to you go through the gauntlet of decisions where it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, I didn't think about that. So just like get it out there and get something rolling and show it to people. Because you can also explain something to someone, you explain your idea to your blue in the face, and people won't really understand it, and they'll nod, and your friends will, give you, false signals. But they don't really understand. They're not visualizing it the same way you are. So if you can actually create something tangible that they can actually use and play with, then they have something to go off of. And the other great thing about Bubble, we completely rebuilt Better Legal on Bubble 2 years ago, and we're going to completely scrap the dashboard for something brand new. If you're not rebuilding something every 2 to 5 years, you're already kind of falling behind. So like you need to be able to refresh and iterate quickly, and Bubble allows you to do that so easily, to where you can just say, oh, this didn't work, but I got a lot of great feedback. Let me create a new version. Almost like how SpaceX builds rockets. So it's just like,
Yeah.
get it out there, do it yourself, start showing people, and collect that first dollar.
Yeah, Marina, any thoughts on to follow up on that?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I remember me and my co-founder, we were kind of pivoting, and we decided to launch new app every 2 weeks. So Bubble, it definitely enabled us. I mean, I know I'm very good at Bubble, and this may sound like awkward to some people, but I was able to build an app in a day, launch it, announce it to the world, test it out, see if it sticks. If few people paid for the app, then we would keep it as a business. And that's what happened with VoicePen. A lot of people got interested, mainly because it was like AI was this new thing. People wanted to kind of experiment. And yeah, it was pretty bad looking app, but it worked. The functionality was there. People were using it, and we stuck with it.
Gotcha. Albert, I'm going to ask you a little bit about sort of like, really quickly, and I'm trying to make sure we keep time so we get to our Bubble team members, but do you have anything to add about how you got to thinking about SynthFlow?
Yeah, I fully agree with what has been said. Basically, Bubble, I still can't wrap my head around it, that I started a weekend project, and it turned out to become such a big such a big app. But yeah, so it's crazy that you can basically create and test out idea in just a day or two with Bubble, and yeah.
Cool. The next question I have as well is, we mentioned a little bit about Bubble as a tool. What other useful tools have you found that help you with your startup? Marina, I'll start with you.
Yeah, definitely. I have few to kind of highlight here. And especially with AI, you have so many new things coming out, so many new ideas are bursting every day. So you definitely need that third-party app support when you're building with Bubble. I find two apps that are very useful for me. The first one that I use very often, especially when for testing ideas, is Replicate, because they host a bunch of LLMs. and you can and they give you like a API that is ready to use, so you don't have to set up any big environments, host them anywhere. I could use their API and basically build it with Bubble, build the feature in Bubble. But basically the same concept is with this app called Vellum, which gives me the ability to build like an entire workflow of AI by building like several workflow steps in prompting, test them out, and then use this one ready API, which I connect with Bubble, and it's so easy. API connector is the best thing from Bubble. So yeah, those are the tools that I kind of prefer.
Great. And Chad, I know that you have mentioned previously that you were looking at other ways to use Bubble and GPT. How have you been using other tools?
I'm a purist. I like to keep it simple. I use ChatGPT and Bubble. With Bubble's API connector with ChatGPT, I mean, there is literally nothing that you can't build. We've already it's like, oh, okay, well, you can't build Asana. Yeah, you can. We did it in Better Legal. We've got an internal Asana. Oh, you can't duplicate Intercom. We already did it. It's internal in Asana, in our Bubble app. But we also have like chatbots running through ChatGPT and Bubble's API connector. And so what I would say is that there is literally no limit. Like anything you can think of, or it's like, oh, that would be cool with AI, like play with Bubble. And what I do, I've got a YouTube video that I've shared. I think they're going to share it. Basically, you can ask ChatGPT. So I play with ChatGPT and I try to get it to do something. I try to get it to replicate its answer repeatably. And that's how I built the contract analysis tool. I just basically went to Harvard's, contract attorney education site, their university. And I was like, okay, how does a contract attorney do this? And then I just kind of started playing with that in ChatGPT. And once I started getting answers that I liked repeatedly, I asked it to output it in JSON. And that's just a file format. It looks like CSV. It just is like a flat file text. And so you just have it output that. And then using Bubble, you can take that information and display it to the user any way that you want. And so instead of seeing like this text chat thing, you can build an interface around it. And so, whereas like a decade and a half ago, billions of dollars was created by turning a spreadsheet into an app. Think about how many apps literally are just spreadsheets. We can now take Bubble and pair it with AI and create limitless possibilities.
Gotcha. And last, I'm going to have Albert chime in because you've been doing something beyond just wrapping it. You've been developing your own sort of AI models here, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about how you feel about the tools that you have and what you saw as like a gap in the market that you tried to address.
Yeah, for me, when the entire AI hype happened, basically all these frameworks they were code based on Python, and I realized that there's quite a big added value if you kind of connect these frameworks. Like I used a tool called Replit, and I connected it with Bubble, and using Bubble as a front end for the visual part. And that was quite a powerful combination. Like, for example, all this, baby AGI or AutoGPT, all this stuff, which were only accessible via code, via this shell interface, they were now accessible also via, visually, via no code, basically. And that was the powerful part of it. So right now, it's definitely not a AI wrapper. And like we still use Bubble mainly for the front-end part, for the visual part, but UX UI of our app is one of the key parts that users love, and that gives us, so to say, edge. And this is what is enabled by Bubble, basically.
Great. Okay, next question, real quick. So we touched upon this a little bit, but when you're identifying features to put in your first product, what do you guys feel like, is good enough for V1? Like, what's your sort of bare minimum? If you could just explain it in like 2 seconds to somebody, how would you describe what you put into your V1? I'll start with Chad.
Just getting something launched. So like when we built the contract analysis tool, we started with just a explain tool. So it was just like literally a Chrome extension. And yes, we built a Chrome extension with Bubble, where you just input a bunch of legal text and you hit explain, and it said, explain it like I'm 10. And we posted it on Product Hunt, got 1,000 users, and that gave us the confidence to say, okay, we can now build a full contract analysis tool. There is a market for this.
How about you, Marina? What do you think is like you're good enough for V1 when you're launching all your apps?
With Bubble? Come on, launch the whole thing. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, definitely build most of it. So, and this is what I usually talk to with people that are new with Bubble, when they're kind of like insecure, what can we build with Bubble and how quickly can we build it? And when I tell them that in like 4 to 6 weeks you can build the whole thing, they're like shocked. So launching a new app, I mean, not new app, like the first feature, it's like a day or two. So spend another 2 weeks to build like the first MVP. And I don't know, like I haven't been thinking about what is like the first feature to launch in a very long time, because I mostly build the app like a full complete solution. So, but yeah, I guess from a startup standpoint, find the problem, solve the problem. That's like the first feature you build. But yeah, very quickly with
Yeah.
Bubble.
Albert, I'm going to give you the next question because I think, like beyond the V1, what parts of like the app building process do you feel like could be made easier with AI when you're building?
A lot actually. With AI, basically it adds another layer on top of no code, and let's say if you combine it with no code, like just via text-based interface using a prompt, you can basically significantly enhance the capabilities of the app, and you can make it super powerful, and all without using code.
How about Chad? Chad, you next, and then I'll finish up with Marina.
Well, I think if everything is, I kind of like to think about it as like an outline. So like if you ask ChatGPT, I'm just use ChatGPT, it could be anything, ChatGPT can be interspersed with Llama or Anthropic or whatever, but just getting you to that like draft level. So like you ask it a question and you tell it, and you give it as much context as you can. You let it summarize an outline for you that then can like help you springboard into something else. And so with the Bubble AI thing, I think creating the interface for a web page is literally just like, it's a hero, it's a pricing table, it's this, it's that, and that's the outline, right? So like getting that first step, seeing something, and then being able to tweak it and add your soul to it before launching it.
Cool. How about you, Marina? Anything else you wish could be made easier?
I do miss the feature lately that I hope that hi Bubble people, and I hope you build this. And I think AI would be the perfect solution for this. So when I first start building an app, my database is empty, and I need to create those records manually or import them. Like having that one button that could kind of generate those records for me, that would be great. But one more thing to note here, as Chad mentioned, building that kind of like outline. Building the front end with AI is super, super helpful, especially if you have a front end that is built that it's responsive, that I don't have to think about the kind of whether it's behaving on different screen size. That saves tons of time when you're building with Bubble, and focusing just on the functionality and on building the features. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your thoughts. I really appreciate your time. And I had a question here from someone about how to reach the presenters after this. If you guys want to jump into the chat after this and share some of your contact information, and if you go in the description of this video, you can check out some of their Bubble built products. They're really amazing. I'll let you guys hop off. So thank you so much again for everyone who's tuning in. The next phase of this, thank you for sticking around. We'd really like to share with you something that Bubble has been working on to make it easier for you to build apps from start to finish. You've heard people talk about that getting started phase and like figuring out the outline and getting everything together. And today we've released the first features that help with that early stage of planning and designing. So these are tools that you're about to see are available in beta for free right now. They're launched this morning. If you sign up for a Bubble account today, you'll be able to access them. These features are here to help you understand not just what you need to build, but how and why, and give you a head start, especially when it comes to designs. So next up, you'll hear from Henry Dowling, the product manager on Bubble's AI team, who will show you how to take advantage of Bubble's AI to jumpstart your app's product plan and design.
Hi, I'm Henry, a product manager at Bubble on the AI team. We've heard from many founders that one of the hardest parts of getting started is learning how to map your general app idea to specific features. We're investing in AI to reduce that learning curve. Beginning today, if you're new to Bubble, when you sign up for free, you'll get an AI-powered guide that generates custom, personalized suggestions for how to start building your app. That includes what pages you want to make, how to set up your database, and what features make sense to prioritize. It's like if you hired a professional product manager to help you through the learning curve of building your product. Let's talk through an example. Hypothetically, imagine that your favorite personal finance app has recently been shut down by its parent company. So, you decide you're going to build your own app that helps people with personal finance and budgeting. Let's see how you can use Bubble to start validating your idea faster. Bubble's AI takes your app idea and then generates a list of features you might want to build. Like a product manager, this build guide can help you organize and prioritize which features are most important to your app and give you a sense of how much effort each feature may take. In this case, here are some key features that the AI suggests for a personal finance app, including expense tracking, budget planning, bank account integration, and more. Each feature comes with an estimated level of technical complexity. Following its suggestions, if we want to start building an expense tracking feature for our app, Bubble's AI will generate customized steps to get started, including a suggested database structure with some sample data types that you can create with the click of a button. There are also some suggestions for design and logic. Our hope is that these guides give you an easier framework to think about how you can approach building an app, so you can get started with more confidence. We recommend you keep the build guides up in a separate tab as you start working on your app. Build guides aren't the only way Bubble's AI can speed up your product development process. It can also help you conquer another intimidating part of building: the blank page. Bubble's AI Page Designer can help you get started with your page design so that you can build faster. The feature's in beta, and starting today, you can generate customized pages using AI in minutes. Then you can personalize and adapt them as you build your app. Let's use the AI Page Designer to create the first page in our app. We've made it simple for you to choose the type of page you want. We find that most builders usually want to start with one of these 8 pages. There's the landing page. This is where new users who haven't signed up yet are directed. It gives details about what your company is and why someone would want to use your app. There's dashboards to show data that you want to display to your users, and options for a social feed for social networks, a marketplace for if your app lets users sell things, user profile pages, product listing pages, and operational pages like settings and a sign-up page. For the personal finance app, we're going to build the landing page to tell users why they should use our app, and the dashboard for our expense tracking features. Let's add some details about what this page should look like. Some good things to talk about here include the features in your app, your target audience, and the look and feel of the page. It takes a minute or two. While we're waiting, we can kick off a generation for another page, like a dashboard. In this example, we also took features suggested from the build guide, including expense info forms, category selection, and spending habit visualization. Adding these details to the prompt gives the AI a sense of what types of data will live in our dashboard. When your pages are ready, you can review them. Our AI page designer customizes the details of your page, like text content suggested by language models like GPT, styles and fonts, and even some sample images generated by Stability. For now, our page generator will only generate the front-end interface, just the designs. Next, we'll talk a bit about our plans to leverage AI to help you with dynamic data and workflows so you can get to a fully functional view 1 of your app on day 1. Bubble's AI tools are here to help you take control of your product design and feature roadmap so that you can build faster. The AI page designer offers you a head start on page designs so that you can dig into the key functionality like workflows and data that make Bubble the go-to platform for building apps without code. You can try the beta of the AI page designer and our build guides for free today by signing up at bubble.io/AI.
Great. Thanks, Henry. So as a reminder, everyone, try out the new page designer feature right now. Add the link on our screen, bubble.io/AI. And if you sign up for Bubble or go to your home dashboard, you can walk through build guides for your app. Next up, I'm inviting Henry with another team member building our AI tools for founders, Cody, senior software engineer. We'll be doing a live walkthrough tutorial to highlight more ways you can customize your AI generated pages that you just saw in the demo. So welcome, Ali and Henry. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining.
I think Henry, I'm double checking. Yeah.
Hi everyone, thanks for being here. Super excited to show off these features.
Great. I'm going to let Ali bring up some of the app pages you just saw generating the demo for the personal finance app. So Ali, tell me, if I'm someone who's like new to design, new to Bubble, what exactly does this page designer get me?
Yeah, thanks, Vivienne. That's a great question. So as you can see here, we have this awesome landing page that we generated in under a couple of minutes. So ultimately, the page designer is meant to save you time. It does the work to build a design system, a page layout, and the basic UI building blocks as an easy starting point for those who aren't that familiar with design. Really, the goal of this feature is to get you from 0 to 1.
So after I've generated my page, I have this page I want to work with. How would you adapt and iterate on this now that I have a sort of starting point?
Right. Yeah, we definitely expect that users are going to want to iterate on these pages, and there are a number of ways to do that. For starters, we can talk about styles and design. So you can choose to use the AI generated styles as this page is currently doing. Or if you want to make it your own, you can come over here to the styles tab on the left-hand side. If you click into the style variables subtab, you'll see your global fonts and color palette for your application. So let's say we're not really feeling green, you can actually come down here and find the AI generated primary token. You can click in here, you can say switch to blue. And then if we go back to our design, you'll see everywhere we were using that primary color has been changed. And you can continue to do that with the other style variables, to create a more uniform look here.
Actually, I have a question from the chat about how responsive the resulting pages are, if you have an ability to show the responsiveness, because I believe if you want to minimize and change the page in preview.
Oh, you just want me to hear?
Yeah.
Let me share this tab instead. So yeah, right away you can preview this change live.
And show if you could show minimizing the window for responsiveness.
Oh, yes. Let me do that. I'm not sure if that worked or not. You can see.
We might be able to show the tabs, but they are responsive. I think we're in full screen mode with the window screen, so it doesn't adapt the screen to page. But thank you anyways. Thank you for asking that question.
Let me go back to this tab instead. Yeah, so I'm going to actually undo that just because I think AI did a good job. But if you already have an existing application with styles that you like and want to use, you can also opt to use those instead. So when you go to generate a page, you'll see on the second screen here that there's a checkbox to use existing styles. So that's an option as well.
Great. My next question would be about connecting data and how you would manage to connect data to the dashboard page, for example.
Yeah, let's check out the data tab here. Data is a big part of building an app on Bubble. So here you can see your data types. Right now we just have expense, income, and user, but you can add additional data types as well as define the properties on each of those data types. And you can also take a look at the data in your application. Just to clarify, this is an admin panel, so users won't be coming in here and adding data themselves. More likely you'd have a form in your application where users can submit data, or data can be generated through user actions via workflows. You can also upload a CSV if you have existing data that you want to populate this table. But just for the sake of this demo, I'm going to show manually adding one new data point. So let's add a data point for August. Let's make it 2000. All our other data points for 2023. And now you'll see that data point here. And we can actually hook up that data to the charts in our dashboard. So this is our AI generated dashboard page. We have these two charts down here. We've already hooked this one up to our income table, but let's do the same thing for expenses on this side. So to start, we can just update the chart title so we know what we're looking at. And then we can actually connect this to our real data. You won't see the real data in the edit mode here, but once you preview your application, you'll see that live data. So we can select our data source and do a search for all of the entries in our expense table. You'll also want to switch the type of data up here to expense type. So we are telling the program what we're looking at. And then for each of those entries, we can pull values off of them. So we want to graph the current points amount over the month. So we can look at the current points month. That should do it. And then we can preview. I'll share this tab instead. And there you can see the live data.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring Henry up as well. I'm going to take another look at the user questions that people have been dropping in. Thank you so much for continuing to ask questions. We'll have some time to answer some of them as we go. If you're interested in learning more about building your first workflows or editing the app, we have some YouTube tutorials on the site. Henry, I'd like to ask a little bit more about the background on how the team approached the AI page designer. I know this beta definitely isn't the end of the line on how the team is working on AI, so I would love to learn a little bit more about what you're working on.
Yeah, hi everyone again. Yeah, so that's a good question. How do we approach building out this feature? It's kind of an interesting story, actually. This feature originally started as an internal, investigation into how AI could interact with data or with visual designs for Bubble. So we were playing around with it, and so we built this, AI page generator feature. And we ended up showing it to some alpha testers, and we found that for the few alpha testers that we showed it to, it was actually pretty useful. We heard from one user that we were in an interview with that it saved them several hours putting together a dashboard for a personal finance app that they were building. So we're like, oh, that's interesting. And there are even, we let some users have access to the feature for unlimited time. And after the time was up, they actually reached back out to us and said, hey, could you give us access to this feature back? It's saving me a lot of time. It was the best way for them to, start getting to a first version of their idea. So that made us think oh, that's kind of interesting. Maybe we should release this. So we're releasing it now. We're really excited to show it to everybody. We hope this will make you users of Bubble, people watching the stream. We'll hope it makes it easier for you all to start validating your ideas more quickly. That's the whole point. AI should speed you up. So we hope that it can help you out with the visual design side of things.
Great. Thank you. I do have a question from a user here about AI functionality for the back end. And I think this is a really good question to sort of talk about how your team's thinking about the next stages of this, of the projects that you're working on around AI beyond design.
Yeah, it's a good question. So yeah, right now the feature that we have is just visual designs. But the thing about Bubble is Bubble is kind of an amazing product. it lets you do kind of everything you need for building like a product, really. So, like it'll help you out with designs, but also it helps you out with the data and like queries to your database and like workflows, like the backend functionality, even integrations. And right now our AI tool only helps out with design, which is fine. But we have plans to extend that to other parts of the product surface area. So, coming soon, like we're currently doing investigations into how AI could help you out with, writing expressions in Bubble, with making workflows in Bubble. And, this is the kind of thing where we hope that, eventually you'll be able to use AI features like this to get to a full like MVP of a product, like a full first version of a product on day one. That's kind of our vision. So, these are internal investigations right now, but yeah, we're excited about this.
Great. So hopefully see a couple questions about that. There's some other questions they have about styling and how you integrate, the styles of your current existing app into the font, or how styles are integrated. Ali, since you were talking about styles, do you have any suggestions about like how you should expect to integrate styles into the page designer?
Yeah, if you're talking about using existing styles, a new application comes with some default style variables, so you can modify what those, like what colors those styles are. And then if you choose to use existing styles, it will, pull from those existing style variables. It might generate a couple additional ones as well, but they'll be informed by the other colors you already have in your application.
Great. And then a couple questions here about the build guides. I think Henry, I can ask you this on behalf of the team. How are the build guides being saved? Like, how do people retrieve them? Can people use build guides for their existing applications? Tell us a little bit more about how a user can use build guides.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, we're super excited about build guides. Like we think this will make it way easier for you to like do all kind of like the busy work of figuring out what features do I need to build, how do I build them in Bubble, like all that kind of organizational stuff. So yeah, they're now available to everyone. If you want to, save a build guide, there's actually a tab in your home page on Bubble where you can see all of your build guides. And if you want to ask a question to build guides about an existing app, you can feel free to do that. The prompt, you can kind of put anything you want in. So, even if you're working an idea that you've already kind of started making a Bubble app for, you can ask about the whole app or even specific parts of the app, and it'll generate, ideas for how to build features for those things.
One question about sort of design was whether they got a couple questions about Bootstrap and whether the design pages follow Bootstrap. Could you tell us a little bit more about like how the team built the design system that informs the AI page designer?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, someone was asking about like, does it follow Bootstrap? The answer is no. And the reason for this is we think there's a good reason for this, which is that we built kind of like a Bubble specific set of components for this launch. Bubble is a bit different than code. It's no code, so it's kind of its own thing. And Bootstrap is a code library. So we built something custom to make sure that it integrates seamlessly with like Bubble.
Great. And I think that's, we have a bunch of other questions here. We're kind of getting close to time. So I would love to know, at least from your team, you hinted at the next phase of the AI team's work around workflows, around backends. When can we expect to see more progress from your team on AI?
Yeah, good question. So this is, we're investigating AI features right now. And we hold a user conference every year in October. So it's called BubbleCon. It's coming up. I'm not going to spoil the surprise yet, but we have been working on something pretty cool that we're excited to show. Something that's going to help you validate your ideas way faster. So I would say look forward to BubbleCon.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Henry, and thank you everyone for attending. Hope you found something useful today in the event. And don't forget that you can try out the new features that we released, signing up for Bubble today, or go to bubble.io/AI. If you want more in-depth tutorials on building with Bubble or building AI apps on Bubble, we've just released a bunch of new courses over on our YouTube channel, courtesy of Gregory John. And other than that, thank you all for sticking around. And like Henry said, we will see you at BubbleCon 2024.
Thanks everyone.
Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.